Their father did it again. "I could snap off your nose!" "I'm not a little kid," he reminded himself. "I saw! The rabbit took him!" "You're not bleeding. You'll be fine," he said. "Charlotte, come closer to the house, please." Charlie was glued to the spot. She could not look away from him, because I am one of them. The poems were awful. I didn't know it was possible to be both melodramatic and boring at the same time. I mean, just reading them made me embarrassed for him. She covered her face in her hands. Charlie laughed. "What did you do?" "What could I do? I told him it wasn't going to work out and went home." "Nobody ever knows what comes next, I guess," he said. "Do you?" "The pictures were falling on me," he said urgently, still panicked. They all stood staring at the man on the floor. Jessica took an involuntary step backward. "Hey, I'm a big boy. I can stay by myself," Carlton said, speaking to a shelf. "Carlton, are you okay?" John asked, alarmed. "Yeah, never better," Carlton said as his breathing returned slowly to normal. "You have a concussion." "Yeah, serial killer man explained by not moving to me." Bonnie's arms began convulsing violently. Playing hide-and-seek like babies, Jason thought. I hope I never fall in love. Animatronic therapy, recommended by 6 out of 7 crazy people. You did smell like feet, Jessica laughed with a sudden outburst. Gum? Yeah, right, those were boogers. It was 10 years ago. It's not like you've got dementia at 17. Do you know what I put you in? Your girlfriend? There's probably a hole or a hatch or something, she said. A hole or a hatch or something, John echoed with a half smile as he lifted the other end of the ladder. Do you have a better idea? Now come on. Yeah, I'm fine, he said. Sorry about the floor. I guess it's your floor, kind of. Charlie grabbed the flashlight. Carlton grabbed the granola bar. I would have known it immediately, even if he wasn't, in a coffin. At their sleepovers as kids, Charlie remembered her bouncing around like a maniac while the rest of them were winding down for the night, then falling asleep abruptly, like a cartoon character who'd been hit over the head with a rolling pin. What? She said defensively. I don't believe in ghosts. So it's the ghosts of living people? Lamar said. No. From down the hall, Lamar let out a triumphant cry. Found it! The shingles beneath their hands and feet were soggy in a deep, swollen way that suggested they had not truly been dry in years. We're not playing a prank, she said crisply, and Charlie suddenly remembered how tall she was. That shopping mall? The rage was gone, had ebbed back to wherever it rose from, and she was empty of it, her insides dry and vacant. Something about its sharp, darting movement struck Charlie the funniest thing she had ever seen. The rabbit held a slim silver blade. It means that sometimes the guilty get away with terrible things, but it is the price we pay. It looked like an old, angry monster, hunched forward and wizened, with 2 giant gnarled branches reaching out like arms. Sweet justice! Actually, I think it was nachos. An elbow joint, she thought. I wonder who that was going to belong to. Our friend is trapped in that abandoned shopping mall, and it's your job to help us. It's Jason's footprint, Marla said. Look, you can see the imprint. It's the silly shoes he spent a year's allowance on. At the hotel, she made him change into a blazer and khakis as well, though he was still wearing his Nikes. I'm coming. Stop it, he whined. Speaking of which, where's our felon to be? Are we a Waffle House now? She asked. Pancakes, Jessica corrected, but no one responded. Yes, our family is a full-service operation, she said dryly. Has there been talk of coffee? Chipper at 6 a.m. Charlie! Charlie! I'm up, Marla. Charlie! I said I'm up. Charlie! Believe me, I'm awake. Are you always like this? John's hands were still suspended in midair from where Charlie had been. How did you do that? Beginner's luck, he said. I just pressed some buttons. Crudely, awkwardly, without the grace or complexity Charlie remembered, but they were moving in sequences, not just one motion at a time. Go stick your tongue in an electric socket for all I care. I catch the crooks, she puts them back out on the streets. Eggs, she said at last. Charlie smiled wryly at the sign and kept driving. See? No nerve damage, she said. I'll be fine. Shh, Charlie said, even though he was not making any sound. Jason gleefully ignored them, spinning off into the parking lot like a top. Or we can feed him to Foxy. Awash with relief, Jason took a step forward, opening his mouth to speak, and stiffened, struck still with fear. When Charlie saw the knife, the whole thing had snapped into focus. She knew what the thing was, and she knew what it had been built for. John was staring at her, horror creeping in. That's how he trailed off. Charlie nodded. Of course! Even so, Charlie could see that they were contorted, almost grotesque. The thing would be weeping if it could have wept. In summer, it smelled like pizza and old French fry grease and sweaty kids, and my dad would say, that's it. He would say, whose brilliant idea was it to put a skylight in a closet? Shoot us? Jason whimpered, eyeing Lamar warily. I don't need her permission to be bored. I love that, Carlton said. What? Asked Marla. Stage lights. Who is in the suit? Charlie finished the question for him. We have to go to the library. Worse, Lamar said gravely. Community service. But is anyone in the closet? Lamar said. It doesn't matter, said Marla. We don't have a choice. Everyone looked at Charlie, who thoughtfully studied the skylight. As Carlton held the creature's gaze, he felt himself begin to calm. It's just another place to be trapped, Charlie thought. I love you, Charlie, but it was enough to give her a night watcher. The unicorn stared ahead, unresponsive. Why do you have 3 closets? 'Cause that's how many there are. Suddenly, John smiled with a reckless confidence. Yeah, let's do it. Did this hallway just lead nowhere? It's the story of my life. There was a back door to Freddy's. Anything interesting? John asked. A gum wrapper, 30 cents, and Jessica. Oh, have we all forgotten? Jessica gave an evil smile, pointing to another hallway on the opposite side of the dining room. So much for being sneaky, Charlie said darkly, but no one responded. He's on the debate team. He played soccer, for goodness sake. That's Cassiopeia, he said, and she squinted in the direction of his finger. It's Orion, she corrected. John, I'm serious. What did people think of him? Your mom was banking on 3 months. Lamar's mom was more optimistic. Remember the frogs? Who are you calling? Clay said, alarmed. The police, she snapped. I am the police. Then why are you here? Even the people who do terrible things have people who love them. Careful. I think she might be lost without that thing. She was a princess, she said excitedly. What? Who? My mother. Is it locked? Charlie called up. Okay, sure, John said. Shh! Lamar quickly flipped a small switch, killing the light in the control room, and backed against the wall next to the door. Lock the door. I guess it's better than nothing, she said. What? There are too many hallways. I can see most of it. Where are you? I can't see you. Now let's hope I didn't accidentally kill the guard. Hey, dirtbag, wake up, she slapped him again. Clay studied the rest of the pictures, looking for more reflections, but found none. There was no flash. The top hat was unmistakable. There has to be rope around here somewhere. No, I mean, do you know how? Oh. Wait, right after you read his poetry? I still had the notebook in my hand. And did you come to know his soul? But now he takes statistics and economics and wears sweater vests. You broke him! Oh, good, you're awake, Charlie said, then dumped the rest of the water on his head. I love you, Charlie, and everything is going to be okay, Aunt Jen said, and then she destroyed the world with the next words she spoke. He'll probably be a millionaire stockbroker instead of a starving artist. It's all my fault. Smoke break, she added hastily. You don't smoke. You look so happy, he said, and she nodded. Yeah, she said. I guess I must have been, if that's me. What kind of a name for a serial killer is Dave? Don't you know? May 13th. How did you know? Because I know things. She was red-faced and breathless. I guess the rain started, Charlie thought. We're sorry, Lamar said quickly. We'll go. We don't have any drugs. The tiles were made of loose, stained styrofoam, and the one above her head was askew. I hope there aren't any bugs up there, she thought. Me too. I just went to a funeral last week. They were dead, just dull and flat. Everyone is so sensitive, Lamar muttered. How much blood have you lost? You don't need to go to a hospital. And the child was screaming. Carlton, get down, you idiot! Jessica ran to the stage. There were no bodies. I saw Michael's blood streaked across the floor from where he was dragged from. We had some things we wanted to investigate. Research. Yeah, traffic is crazy out there, Jessica said, high-pitched and forced. I was 7. What do you want? Their faces were bright red, crying like babies. That was fun. That was terrifying. It can be both. What? Cute boys? What are we, 12? Well? Were you playing in the road? Marla demanded. No, he said. Charlie, are you okay? No. Yes, she said. Ha! Take that, Morning Frizz! His mouth hung open and his eyes were partially closed. I always expected the cupcake to jump off of the plate. Like Pompeii, said Jessica, just without the volcano. As they walked on, Carlton swept up and took her arm. Your voice is amazing, he said. It's just good acoustics. If you get yourself killed, Mom's gonna blame me. My nose still hurts when it rains. John stopped suddenly, turning off the flashlight as carefully as he could. She was not entirely certain it was real, so she told no one. After done, do you want me to go to the fire department? Jason snores like a guy about 3 times his size. The floor would shake. She lifted her head as the thought became clear. A train? She jerked the ladder forward so hard John stumbled and almost fell. He stopped, realizing too late that he was surrounded by the teenagers.